hello.
We're back again.
And we are back.
Part 4.
Oh, I'm guessing the guest is going to be with us very soon. They are active now. So,
this is not a surprise guest.
No, this is one that I contacted.
Okay. I had to check the schedule.
Yes.
All right, we have.
I don't want to give everything away.
No. Although Nickname did post the schedule, so it is available. I said Nickname did post the full schedule, so.
Yeah. But there are a lot of people on here that don't have Facebook or don't use Facebook. So you just wait and see him.
I don't know. You better start drinking that pre-workout or something, because if Nathaniel didn't wake you up.
I'm on coffee number 4. It's good. So we're ready?
We're ready.
Right. So here is our next guest, the one and only Paul Sinclair of Truth Proof. Hello, Paul. I'm shattered. Absolutely.
I'm sure you are. Hi, Nicole. All good. Yes. So how long's this then? What we into?
This is 10 hours, 10 hours in.
Okay.
Not even halfway yet, but we're getting there.
You'll get your second wind. It's all good. So yeah. Where do you want to go with this then, Andy?
Wherever you want. Your call.
Well, last night, as true to form, we were on cliffs again.
Yeah.
For people that don't know, and I don't know whether you've filled anybody in recently on what we do, but we're spending a lot of time researching East and North Yorkshire here in the UK, and it's been very active. There's been a lot of things happening, it's been dormant for probably prior to this 6 months, and then if you went back 6 months prior to this, there's just the odd occurrence, which anybody into unexplained phenomena will know that's still quite active. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you can go to these places for years and nothing happens, but we've had so much happening this last 6 months. And we're talking about it other day, and there were 8 of us up there last night, and as a collective, these occurrences wouldn't seem like much, but when you as a singular, but as a collective, when you start putting them together, you realize that there's lots and lots. Can you hear me okay, Andy?
Yeah. My ear was bent inside the headphones. That's all.
Yeah, you realize that there's just absolutely loads and loads of things happening. Earlier in the year, Martin Abbas came up to see us, Dr. Martin Abbas, and we were up there, and Martin said, "Hey guys, just stop. This is daylight. It's not night."
Yeah.
And he said, "Listen," and there's a sound. It's almost like a popping sound, and I think Ian had best analogy. The sport, even they call it curling, don't they? Big blocks of granite.
Yeah.
It sounded like them being banged together, and they were behind him. And he stood on 300-foot cliffs, the sheer. You don't walk. You don't get down them. No. So we're looking over. Suddenly, it's underneath my feet, and then it's the other side of this stand where we're 10 foot away. Then it's over the cliff again. Then it's in the fields. So it don't sound, is that paranormal? I don't know. Then we're getting up there with weather conditions, thick fog.
Yeah.
And there's flashes of light all around us in fog. And I don't mean like you've got some kind of disco ball flashing around, but there's a few people up there and you've got these flashes. But it's not one person saying it and then the power of suggestion and everybody else says, "Oh, yeah, I think I might have seen something." We're all good. Yeah. Everybody's kind of going, "Did you see that one? Did you see that?" And so, and it's thick fog. You put your torch on, you can see, 12 foot in front of you.
Yeah.
So that's odd. Ian bought a brand new thermal camera on 18th of this month, which is literally just 2 weeks ago. Well, Saturday, isn't it now? But it's my birthday today as well.
Yes, I know. Happy birthday, Paul.
Put that up. Happy
Do you know what?
Hey, Alison, happy birthday. Yeah.
You actually said you'll forget.
I'm surprised I've remembered. So is Alison in chat then?
Yes.
Brilliant. I take it she must have been. She didn't pass you that on, but what a great job other day on our live stream when she dressed up for us. She looked brilliant, didn't she? But
I didn't even know it was there at first.
Well, absolutely frightening, weren't it? Absolutely. Not it. Yeah. Apologies, Alison. But the get up. So, right, where were we? So Ian's got this new thermal camera. He got it on the 18th. Hey, hiya, Rob. It's good to see you, mate. He got the camera on the 18th. Well, all these then, some of these will think, oh, God, he's telling us something we already know because we've done this, haven't we? But we'll carry on.
It's good.
And there's about 5 of us. And so we're only going back 2 weeks and a day.
Yeah.
And there's a guy who comes up onto Clifftop as a headlamp, and when he turns it off, it glows a dull green. You know, the middle of it, just like
I
think you might have met him, Alex. I'm not certain. So we all looked down the path, and all of us see a green light coming towards us. So myself and Jeremy, who've also got thermal cameras in our hands, as well as these little psionics, walk towards the light because it sort of we said, well, we did see it, but now we can't see it. In between times, when we come back, Ian, who's just got the camera, he's only played with it a little bit that day, filmed his dog in garden and other bits and bats. So I think I've just filmed something. I said, and have you seen this footage, Andy? You probably haven't.
I don't think you did.
Well, honestly, I've never seen out like it. It's probably some of the best footage I've ever seen.
Wow.
So we had a quick look at it on his camera, and then he brought it round to me next day, and I put it onto computer and we put it through DaVinci Resolve. We didn't add nothing to it, and it's thermal footage, but it's on hillside, and it's a revolving sphere that's just. I've watermarked it because I just know it's quite special.
Yeah.
So and that's just touching on a few of the things. So, but where he filmed it. You've got these areas of unexplained phenomena, like what we've said. Rob's been, who's just said happy birthday, and I'll not go into it. He might not want me to, but he's had an experience there. So it's there, but there's concentrated areas within the area. So where we filmed it a few years ago, or where Ian filmed it, Bob Brown, who comes up with us, is just taking a picture of a kestrel that's on hill, just hovering.
Yeah.
And then he must have took his picture. Then he's looking at his camera, all puzzled. I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "Something's just appeared on hill whilst I'm trying to sort of framing this up." And he's got this picture. And if you wanted, a lot of people within the cryptid community, bearing in mind there's no trees. Let's just give a quick explanation of the lay of the land. Where he's looking at farmland. He's looking over onto a hill. And the horizon kind of thing, but you're only looking about 200 to 300 yards away, if that. And behind Bob would be the North Sea.
Yeah.
300-foot cliffs. So you can't get pareidolia. Well, meaning some people into the cryptid phenomena, they'll take a picture and then look for things in the picture. And we can all do it, can't we? I can look at a cloud and see Jesus waving at me, can't I? But invariably he's not. But no. This is unmistakable. It's there. It's on the hill, and it's just this blob that looks like a head and shoulders. So if you wanted, Andy, you could say that's some kind of cryptid thing crouched down. But it's in daylight, so he's got that picture. But my point is, it's where it's filmed, Andy. It's in the zone of strangeness. Does that make sense? It's the same. It's on that hill. Years ago, same man, Bob, and my daughter Gemma. We came to Clifftops. Gemma were in between moving properties, so she was staying at ours for a few weeks, and she were bored. She said, "I'll come up onto the cliffs with you and Bob." And she'd got my torch, and she's shining it round. Obviously, it's dark, and I've got a camera set up, which I'm looking out to see, just sorting it out.
Yeah.
And I heard her talking to Bob, and she says, "What's that there, Bob?" And he's looking in distance, and in field, just before you just go into this hill. There's a post. He says, "Oh, it's a white board nailed to a post." Well, he comes up all the time, so he knew it weren't a whiteboard, if that makes sense. But the first thing we all do is try and fit it into something rational. You see something in the sky, you think, is it an aircraft? Is it an helicopter? And if you rule all them out, then we might have a true UFO. He's looking at a board on a post. So he says, no, there ain't no there. So he put his torch on, and this thing just dropped to the ground and disappeared. You know, so it's the quirky things, Andy. And what were interesting, that was 2020, and that was February, I believe it was February the 9th, 2020. Now, February the 8th or 9th, 2019, so the year prior, there were two military guys who'd come to do some wild camping on cliff tops.
Yeah.
And you might have heard me talk about this one, but I haven't done for a while. They've got two dogs with them, and one of them had been before, the other one hadn't. And they wanted to see, well, there were two pairs, actually, of peregrine falcons up there, because it's a massive seabird colony and all sorts of wildlife up there as well.
Yeah.
And these were established on cliffs, and they wanted to get up and see these things flying in first light. If you're into bird spotting, I'm not, but that's the thing that they wanted to do. But what they noted when they pulled up into this car park was when they started walking down towards the cliff, the air felt static, the air felt electric. So, and that's, I don't mean a telltale sign of the unexplained, but you get that. So we're walking down, he says, and we're shining the torch, he says, and we lit a pair of eyes up, a pair of big yellow amber eyes further down the path. He says, well, they're used to seeing wildlife. So I can tell you, I look, shine torch and know if I've caught a fox or a rabbit or...
Yeah.
So we didn't know what they were. He said, and it was strange because as dogs were acting peculiar. He says they were acting as though they were nervous. Little terriers. They're not like that, are they? You know? So anyway, they carried on walking, which was a big mistake, and walking down this path, these eyes didn't just sort of freeze as most animals would in a torchlight. They kind of just looked away, which is odd. And then when they're going further down, they light them up again. So, but this time they're more curious than sort of what could this be, because they've no knowledge of anything strange. They're not come looking for anything peculiar apart from trying to see peregrine falcons in first light. So there's a few stands on your way down there. And when it says stands, these are where bird spotters come during the daytime to look at the seabirds. So they make their way down, and all the time, he said, this air, it says it feels, there's almost like a metallic taste in air. So they're standing at one of the platforms and they're looking out to sea, just looking at these amazing views. And they decide to walk a little bit further. I mean, we've even called, I'll not set name because people who've not heard the story will not know what I mean. So they walk another 50 to 75 yards to these two posts without a gate. It was a stile, but a lot of people think there's been a gate there. There hasn't. It were a stile to climb over. Yeah. He says, and when we walked through the posts and just put torch on field, he says it was there in front of us. He says, and he thought, Rob's exact words were, and it's not Rob in chat, by the way, Rob's exact words were, I thought it were a effing hyena at first. He says, and he says, and it were hunkered down. He says, literally 20 foot from him. He says, and I couldn't work out. He says, all its fur were bristling and it was stuck up, this fur. He says, and then it stood up. He says it stood up on two legs. I can hear him now because I recorded him, you know, and he allowed me to. And I've got quite a lot of recordings of this fella talking about it. He came into our chat, you know, say a year later, because like a lot of people, after you've had one of these experiences, that's when you step on the path to try and find out information of your own, isn't it? So he's the guy with him. He says we stood there. He says, and we just froze. He says we didn't know what to do. He says it looks like it's about 7 foot tall. He said, and it's just there, a fur bristling. He says like a dirty brown colour with cream fur on its front. And the dogs are terrified. He said the tails had gone to the bellies, kind of thing. That's how he's talking about them. He says, and he just hit his friend in the chest. He says, and we started walking backwards. He said, but it took a step forward. But interestingly, he said it was doing this with its finger, but to the side where they weren't. You know, obviously, if I'm facing you and Nicole, I'd be doing that with my finger. This thing's doing it to the side. And that became one of the most haunting things for him. Now, obviously, they left. He says, and we're looking behind us all the time. He says, it's just stationary. So these are kind of things, and these are kind of stories that I realize people find it really difficult to get your head around, that something like this could exist here in the UK. Even if, as I believe, it's paranormal, and I don't think there's a flesh and blood creature surviving and fending for itself here in the UK on a 24/7 basis, 365 days a year. I think it's something that's transient, that slips in and out of our reality. And you know, a lot of people still can't get their head around it, but there's so many people coming forward with reports like that. And if you want to ask anything, Andy, just fire away. If
yeah. No, I'm just listening.
Right.
Because obviously, because we met up in Bempton. Was it June, July?
Yeah.
But after you went, we stayed on for about half an hour, 40 minutes, and we didn't. Oh, this camera's doing my head in. And we didn't get. We didn't get anything. Nothing. Had the night vision. We tried all different types of cameras, different lighting, different filters. No bad feeling. We walked back to the car park. I think we had our torches on for a bit, but as soon as we got up to the top of the path, like we turned them off, just walked through, and it was normal.
Yeah.
So, like you say, it's not all the time. It's not consistent.
Well, you know, let's not forget that. I don't know. Every day of the year, it's open as a bird sanctuary.
Yeah.
Do you know? And it's probably got one of the biggest seabird colonies of gannets in the UK. Meaning, there's lots of people come up there with torches with cameras during the day, and obviously they're flashing photographs at seabirds and everything. But you do get people from the bird sanctuary who are visiting to see seabirds contacting me. A lot of the things. I mean, if they're coming looking out to look at seabirds and all these puffins and different birds. I'm not saying that if you didn't see something in the sky, you wouldn't take a picture, but they're looking all these birds are nesting on the cliffs, and the cliffs sort of go in and out, and this, so you can, even when you stood on edge, you can see seabirds because they're just weaving in and out. Yeah. So a lot of the times they're not looking for anything of an unexplained nature. A lot of the times that this is happening, it's happening in the night as well. But I worked there years ago. I don't know what year, 2009, maybe. I'm not going to say. I did some work for them anyway. Installing some security stuff with another guy, and when we were doing it, we worked through at night because the place had to be open. Yeah, and the guy who was sat, I don't know, I want to say guarding, but just observing who worked for him, started telling us about the things that people had seen, and people were coming into the centre and saying they'd seen things on occasion, so it has been seen. There were an artist there in the daytime, a lady painting the landscape, and she claims to have seen a gold rectangle out over the sea that's stationary, that's just dripping light, which is a fascinating thing. So it's not, you've got everything that's kind of seen up there over the years, and attachments, people taking things on with them. The night that, obviously I'm well into the unexplained and all of this, like your listeners are, Nicole, as you are, but I have to say that Gemma, my daughter, not really that bothered, and she weren't, she now lives well out of area, and when we talk, she don't really talk about this stuff. If I brought what I'm going to tell you up, the night that she saw the white square, we came home. It was no big deal. She'd just seen something unusual, a white square. I said February 8th or 9th, 2020, because I want to jump to something else. That's why I'm saying that. So the night she'd seen the white square, came home, had a cup of tea or whatever, and we went to bed. Me and Mary went to bed, and Gemma were left watching TV. Little TV room. There's a big living room to the left with two glass doors, which in darkness. Yeah. There's a little TV room in the middle with one door leading to the hallway in darkness. So paint the picture so you know what we're talking about. She's watching TV. It's a big TV on the wall. She sat there. There's a brick wall behind her and a passage that is part of our property. So I'm trying to stress that there's no other properties behind her for what happened. And above her is a flat, which is all soundproof because I did them. It was empty. A lady called Wendy had just left it. She'd been in about 7 years. Nothing around. So when I get up in the morning, she says, I nearly woke you up last night, Dad. I says, why? She says, I'm sat there watching TV. And I even remember the film that we're on. She said she was watching Prison Break.
Right.
So there's just the TV light. She said, and I heard this noise. She says, and I thought it was thunder. She says, now just watching TV. And I thought, what's thunder? So I turned TV down. She says, and right behind me, right behind my head, she said, there's a sound of growling. She says, and it's growling and it's behind me. She said, it frightened me.
Where the wall was?
Yeah, straight behind the brick wall. She said, it's growling. It's bang behind my head. And do I believe Gemma? Yeah, I do, because with 4 girls. Jessica's interested. Sarah's kind of mildly interested due to a few things that happened in childhood in that property. Laura's had things happen. Gemma's had. When I wrote Night People, you know.
Yeah.
That side. Sorry. When I wrote Night People, we all do that, don't we? You know, when you know
the wrong way.
Yeah. So when I wrote Night People, that's full of all my own experiences from childhood to present day, as much as I can remember. Obviously, as a child, you're not using a diary, are you? But you know, some things have just so imprinted in your mind you don't forget. Where am I going with that? Everybody's got something to add in Night People except Gemma. You know, she's hardly, because it's just not whatever happened or whatever was interacting didn't affect her really.
Right.
So for her to say this were quite interesting. So we've not only got concentrate. I think she'd have got some kind of attachment with in connection with what she'd seen on the hillside. But not only have we got concentrated areas, or like a real thick concentrated area within the area of strangeness, I think we've got months as well, because we got February 7th or 8th when this happened, with Gemma and Bob Brown seeing the square of light. We go back a year and we've got the military guys seeing this cryptid. So, but we've also got this locational thing, because oh, come on, Paul. This was 2019 as well. And it was November the 14th, 2019. I took a guy who were a bit skeptic up onto cliff tops, Lee Haywood. Great guy. I don't mind anybody. For a lot of people, Nicole, Andy, seeing literally is believing.
Yeah.
And I've got time to do this, so I'll just jump from that for a moment. I'll tell you why. When we were making Wolflands, the documentary, I've got a friend who's a police officer who's really interested in unexplained phenomena because he's had his own experiences on those cliff tops. And I said, do you want to come into forests with us and meet 2 witnesses up in North Yorkshire Forest? We'll stay overnight with them, and they're going to share this account and tell us and just try and build up confidence with a group of people. He goes, yeah, I will. He says, and he says, I'll listen to him. He says, but I can't believe that anybody's seen anything like what your witnesses, that not just them, anybody have seen. So we stayed all night. Then we'll jump back to the other one. We stayed all night in the forest. Nice little fire going, somewhere to shelter if it rained. But invariably, we just sit around fire and you might just nod off for half an hour or something. But to me, I just want to soak up that atmosphere. So being a police officer, I asked him, and nature of his job is interviewing people a lot about crimes and find out if they're lying. I said, just kind of grill them. I said, and see, you lead and see how you go with this different approach to me. I didn't lie to lads. I didn't say he's going to interview you, but I also said, but I didn't lie. I said, this guy's a police officer, serving police officer. No objection in staying in here with us and all that all night. He's a great guy. No, none at all. So morning arrives. Daylight breaks into forest, which is an incredible experience. If anybody's ever spent time in a forest and you're there when it wakes up, it's wonderful. So we're sort of just gathering our senses and preparing to. You've gone a bit blurry there, Andy, haven't you?
Yeah. Oh, this camera is.
Yeah, it's probably bothering you more than it's bothering other people. I just. So anyway, daylight arrives and we're just sort of digesting the night, what's happened. And I said, so what did you think, Andy, after listening to these guys telling you their story? He said, like I told you before, Paul. Ah, you got it. That's it.
Yeah.
He says, like I told you before, Paul, seeing is believing. And unless I see something like that with my own eyes, I can't believe it. He said, but I believe they're telling truth. Yeah, so which one? Nice of him to say. So, providing I'm not boring people here, let's jump back to the cliff top. Let's go to November the 14th, 2019. And I took Lee Haywood up there because I'm always banging on about these spheres of light, which I'd call the ILFs, the intelligent light forms, because there's some kind of awareness to them. These orange spheres of light that just appear. They don't fly from nowhere. They just appear and disappear. So I picked Lee up and we're driving along Cliff Lane down towards the nature reserve. I don't know what time it would have been, about 7:30, maybe 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Getting dark. Or it will have been dark. It's November. And Lee says, come on then, Paul. He says, describe these lights. There's no cars on the road. It's single track road. We're just driving steady. And almost to cue. And you can't say these things if it doesn't happen, if you're dealing with somebody who's skeptical, because invariably, even though he doesn't listen to loads of podcasts, you trip yourself up and Lee'd say, I never said that. Do you know what I mean? He could come on and like make you look a fool, couldn't he? He said, describe these lights. He says, what are they like? And I'm just driving along and you've got nothing but fields to the right, left, and the North Sea to in front. And I went, like that. Oh, there's an orange light there in the sky. Yeah. It's out over the sea, but we're about a mile from the cliff edge tops. Not even that, I went half a mile. And he's looking at it, never said a word. And then that was that. We unpacked the car, took the cameras down to the cliff. Sam setting cameras up. And then over the course of probably 3 to 4 hours that night, these lights appeared. And there's no explanation for him. And he's a really sort of critical thinking person, really analytical. And he's just a really switched on, intelligent guy. So he come away thinking, I haven't a clue what these things are. Is probably his exact words, but that's not where it ends. So we're looking at, I don't even know if this bit of paper would do it. Let's have a look. I don't think it will, but imagine look at this. You're going to laugh when you see this. So, and that's the hillside there. Can you guys see me and Lee there? Right. Okay. So I've set a camera up looking out to sea, similar to what I was doing with Gemma.
Yeah.
And I turn around to speak to Lee, and it's in the field with us. And as I'm saying, look at this, look, and I put in the camera on it, where it's only an X80. It's still a good camera. It's a 4K camera. Yeah. And it takes a few seconds when you put it on. It's not just instant. And in the field with us is a sphere of light as big as that. What I've just scribbled on that bit of paper. So as quickly as that camera's coming on, and Lee likened it to molten lava. He said it just looked like lava. And it's literally, if it's not on the ground, it's a few feet off the ground. He described I like to use other people's descriptions, then it just shows that it's not just me saying what I think. Yeah. He described the influence the light was giving off as big as a Volkswagen Beetle. It was huge. Oh. And as I go on, sorry, I thought you were going to say something.
I was expecting you to say it was that big. I thought you were going to say like a football or something.
Huge. I mean, I'm not trying to sell Wolflands, people, but it's on Amazon Prime if you want to watch Wolflands. Lee's in Wolflands, not a made-up witness. He's there discussing this and talking about during the filming, because we interview him, why you were there and seeing these blurry. I'm looking at you now, blurry.
Oh. I know.
It's early, isn't it? And seeing these orange lights. So that was Lee's story, and that was November the 14th, 2019. Why do I bang on about dates? Because dates are important, because there's to everybody, but particularly when you're dealing with unexplained phenomena, because there's patterns. So let's jump back then to let's have a look. Where were we? 2019. Let's jump back to COVID, and myself and Bob Brown found ourselves on the cliff tops. Yeah. And we used to go, because there were so many restrictions. Everybody knows everybody trying to be closed down by the world, should we say? Yeah. I used to drive to a farm that had land that went onto the cliff tops. Probably,
Right.
I don't know, 3/4 of a mile from where I was with Lee Haywood.
Yeah.
3/4 of a mile maybe, but all along the same cliff top path. There'd be one or two farms just dotted about. The farms would be further inland, but their land went onto cliff tops. Parked my car up. Myself and Bob walked down to the cliffs, and so this is before myself and Lee's sighting of this sphere in November 2019. Set up cameras, sat there, and it's brilliant. It really was magical or different because we all were under some kind of curfew, weren't we? And we weren't going out anywhere. We were all feeling really restricted. So here we are with everything around us, and we're just out. We felt like kids who shouldn't be out. Do you know what I mean? So we sat there, and it's not quite dark. And down the same path, farm path from where we walked, this guy comes walking down, big tall fella, and he'd got his dog with him. I'll say he lived at Reeton, he'd driven from Reeton, which is another little village further down the coast, to park and walk his dog. I'm not going to describe his dog because it's a little village and people will know who he is. So he's walking down with his dog, and he says, "Hi lads, you enjoying sea air? Are you filming seabirds? Because it's not quite dark." We don't tell him, "Oh no, we're here to look for unexplained phenomena." We just sort of go nod and go, yeah, all right. And you're for a walk with your dog, bit of pleasantry, and off he goes towards Flamborough Head along the cliff top path. Amount of time passes, half an hour, he's walking back. It's dark now. So we're still sat there with cameras on the cliff top. So he knows we're not filming seabirds. He's not nosy, he's curious. So as he walks towards us, he says, what are you up to then, lads? He says, you're not filming seabirds, obviously. So what are you doing? And then I start explaining that I'm trying to get evidence. I'm trying to obtain footage of these strange spheres of light that appear over the sea. Right. I says, have you ever seen them? He said, no. He said, and I've lived in Reeton. I think it's 20 to 30 years. I can't remember the amount of years. And he'd got windows that looked over the sea. He'd never seen the lights, which is interesting, isn't it? Because if you're not looking for it, or even if it appears, if you see an orange light appear out at sea, because invariably these things will appear, might even go into a multiple of 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then they switch off. If you're not interested in unexplained phenomena and you see that in darkness, you think, well, that's odd, must be a weird exercise taking place out there, helicopter or a military exercise or whatever. And know more about it and go back to watching TV. So he said he'd never seen anything. So he's just about to leave. And Bob Brown says to him, "What about strange animals?" So he stops. He says, "What do you mean, strange animals?" Well, we're not going to say anything about similar to what the military guys had seen, because it's just too much for people, Andy, So Bob goes, "Well, what about the big cats? There's been a big black cat seen up here. Most people can get their head around that." So he told his dog to sit down. He says, "I'm going to tell you something now." So I hadn't even told my wife. So, all right, go on then. He says, right. He said, I live at, as you know, I've just said, at Reeton. So what you've got, people, we were at Bempton and the sheer cliffs, and you've got Bempton, Buckton, Speeton, and Reeton. So you've got all these little villages along the coast. They're all set back. They're all set back from the coast, but Reeton is the furthest one. He says, on this particular night, he said, I said it were a full moon, which is interesting because that allowed us to date it. Because I don't think there's a correlation between the moon and silver bullets and all. That's for movies. I don't think, when we're talking about these cryptids, it's great for movies, isn't it? But I don't think but he said it were a full moon. So he said, I just walked onto the beach at Reeton. I didn't bother coming here. Because you can do that as the cliffs become sheer till you get to Speeton, and so then they just slowly taper down until you can walk down them. I'm walking along the sands. He says everything's sort of beautiful. It's lit up, and when I get to Speeton, which would be about a mile up the beach, there's a ravine there called Black Cliff, and so we're running out of the sheer white limestone cliffs to it's this a clay. It's a real dense black clay full of fossils. Years ago, there used to be a group of people called the Friends of Speet and Clay. Obviously, people who come to collect these fossils. So, and when there's been heavy tides, a lot of people go down and try and find them. So anyway, let's get to the story. We're about 45 degrees here, Andy.
Yeah.
Not sheer.
Mm-hmm.
Beer then, that's nice, isn't it? So he started explaining about the dog. Telling us that because of the nature of it's a gun dog. He said this dog, if it sees a rabbit, it stands different to how it would if it saw a hare. So if a pheasant. Oh. He said I actually know what game this dog is looking at. He said because of his stance. He said, because I understand dog, I know him. He says, and he's acting peculiar. He says, and he's just stood looking at someone. And I'm thinking, well, what's this? What's he looking at? And I say his name and what you're looking at. If it were my dog, I'd say Bobby. What you looking at? And I look up onto the hill and everything's lit up in moonlight. And I don't mean like daylight, but And he said, I can see the silhouette of something halfway up the hill. And I think it's a small horse or a big deer. So we're trying to work out. He says, and then it stands on two legs. He says, and it's thin, it's covered in fur, and I can see its ears. And I'm looking at this thing. He said, and me and Bob looked at each other. We knew what he was going to say. We knew exactly description. He goes, and the only thing I can liken it to is that werewolf thing on Harry Potter. He said, it looked like that. I said, and what did it do? He said it was clearly looking down at us, although I can't see its eyes or anything. It's too far away. He said, and it just turned and ran along the cliff tops and disappeared. Here's where it becomes interesting. When I get home, it's November 2019. We were up there, obviously that year, but we didn't find out about this story till later. When we were. And November the 12th, 2019 was the full moon. So that was 2 days before myself and Lee Haywood saw the sphere of light. So am I trying to say that these things are traveling in spheres of light? No way am I saying that. But I just find it interesting that there's this paranormal soup of activity taking place all around the same times. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're not saying it, but you're not saying it.
Absolutely, Nicole. We can. I think all the cards have got to be left on the table. When we're looking at this, I think a big obstacle with people who are researching unexplained phenomena is telling you, I know what this is. I'm going to tell you. You hear it time and time again. I'm going to tell you what this is. Because, I say to them, you could be right. You've got to have that could be. You might be, because you might also be wrong. Because invariably, when we look into this and we think we've got a handle on it and we think we know what it is, it takes you in another direction and you just haven't. When I started writing the first Truth Proof book, I got the newspapers, local ones, to put a little article in saying I wanted stories of the strange and unusual. And that's when the cryptids phenomena started becoming interesting to me, because prior to that, due to my own experiences with the UFO alien phenomena, I'd got no interest in it. And to me, that's a big mistake. It was a big mistake on my part, because all of this is linked. I mean, you came to the Awakening conference where I spoke earlier this year, and I don't know if you came to the one prior to that. I don't know whether you noted, Andy, but they did some interviews with me for, I think it was Gaia and other things, and they asked me what it involved in and what I were interested in. I said, I don't want to be labeled as a UFO researcher, cryptid researcher. And I said, this is multi-phenomena research. That's what we're dealing with. And I bet have you noted that a lot of people are saying it? Everybody's trying to say everything's linked. I don't think I've invented the wheel, but I didn't hear a lot of people saying that prior to doing this conference, because you get a lot of that as well. You get a lot of other researchers just bending what you said and taking you, just thinking, Christ, that's a decent idea. I like that. And I noted that that's why I'm always keen to say, in 2002, I coined the word ILFs, intelligent life forms, because that was my first website, the ILF UFO website.
Right, okay. Yeah.
And I don't own that word. Nobody owns these words. But if you, if you
copyright it,
I've trademarked Truth Proof because I did some work for a TV company, and then they decided that they thought that it'd be a great idea to do a full series and call the series Truth Proof, which maybe I spent money for nothing, but I thought, yeah, I'm going to trademark Truth Proof. Do you know what I mean? And I managed to do that before anything got done. But no, it's no. But Nicole, none of us own the words. But I think if you're relaying an account even of something, and you're the one that's done the research and discovered it, and then other people talk about it, it's just nice if they say, I got this from Paul Sinclair, or I got this from Nicole or Andy, because it's just a bit of respect, isn't it? Do you know what I'm saying? We've got the Truth Proof website, and lots of reports on the website, 200 or 300 reports on it that you'll not find anywhere else in the world because they've come to Truth Proof. So when I'm doing a live stream, I don't say it every week, but if it comes up, I'll say, feel free to use the reports. If you want to take them, because we omit the names if that's what's required, or change names. If people say we can use the names, we'll use them. I said, but feel free to put them on your website if you want. Just give us credit, though. Don't just take them. Just give us, say, originally reported by Truth Proof or whatever. And I just think that's what we should do. I've kind of lost my thread where we're going with this now, but we did the we've just done the 2019 November the 12th, so 2 days later, myself and Lee. So you've got all these connections. So when things start unfolding, I think that obviously there are one-off situations, but I wonder how many times when people have a UFO sighting or some kind of strange experience, but the bulk of the people, Andy, Nicole, aren't interested. It's just something that's impacted their life, and they thought, oh, that's odd. And then 6 months later, or a few days later even, they'll contact a researcher because they start doing a bit of digging. But I wonder if there are other things, I think there possibly are, happening. And if researchers could get to those locations really quick, within days, you might, there's almost like a ripple effect of where lots of other, so we'll play with this one. Is it one phenomena? What do you think? Is it one phenomena that's interacting with us? You, Nicole, you, Andy, everybody in chat. Is it one phenomena acting with us all? And so Nicole likes cryptids. I'm not saying you do, but you do.
Yeah.
You go researching cryptids, and that's what you're going to see, because that's what it's showing you. Andy likes UFOs or ghosts, and that's what it's going to show you. It might not be too fanciful to think that it could just be one intelligence. There might be many of those one intelligences. Yeah. But it appears to me that it can read our minds. Well, it does, and it's not. It appears. To me, it's obvious it can read our minds. And then when you look at the multi-phenomena aspect of it, you think, well, where's he going with this? So you heard that talk of the awakening, so you probably know where I'm going with this. But the mediums, the spiritual mediums, they get clairaudience. They get a voice inside their head telling them who the deceased spirit is, or giving them clues for the person that they're trying to relay this information to. So that's one aspect of it. Is it linked to the alien abduction phenomena? A lot of the times the abductees, singular or in a group, will talk about being in this paralyzed state, only that their eyes can move, but they're conscious enough to know that these beings are speaking to them inside their minds. Is it the same exotic science that we're dealing with? Could be. Then we go to the cryptid phenomena, and we have to. I'll jump to America or Canada or Alaska for this because we're using a gun. We haven't got gun laws don't allow us to walk about in forests with guns unless you're on private land here in the UK. Yeah. They're not interested in cryptids, but they encounter one of these type creatures and absolutely terrified. But the first thing you might want to do is raise your gun. They get a suggestion, a voice in their mind in some instances. Don't do that. So across all the genres of the unexplained, we've got this mind speak, this intermind communication taking place. Now, is it coming from one intelligence, or is it many intelligences all using the same exotic science? I don't know. Do you know, I'm not going to say I know what it is, because that's the road that I think, as researchers, we all make mistakes. There's too many people, you know. Big UFO organization, is it MUFON? Absolutely brilliant, collecting UFO data, collecting UFO reports. But I know that some of those reports over the years have included other types of phenomena, and it gets omitted because it doesn't fit the narrative of what they're about.
Yeah, what they're doing. Yeah.
That's the problem when you're omitting things, because you're not getting a complete picture of the experience with the phenomenon.
Absolutely, and it's spot on. So you know, it's just so important to lay all cards on the table. And if Andy's talking about something, Nicole, or you are, and I think, nah, I can't agree with that, but agree to disagree, because you could ultimately be right and I'm wrong. You know, and there's so many people, a lot, I won't say a lot of the time, but sometimes it seems to hit people. I mean, you came up and you said, like you said, nothing happened, but a lot of the times it seems to hit people for the first time, as though it's almost showing off show you what I can do. Jeremy comes to the cliff tops. He lives close to Fylingdales, which is, you know, area Fylingdales, which is the early warning station here in UK, up on North Yorkshire moors. So he lives very close. When I say there's nothing around there, there's little villages. So there's a little village that's close, and that's where he lives. But he finds him. He were with us last night, and he comes down 2 or 3 times a week. And reason Jeremy's so interested, because he's living in an area where strange things are seen up at Fylingdales, is because he went down. He'd heard me talking about unexplained phenomena. And the lights over the sea. And the very first time he went down, and I think it was September the 16th, 2022. He'll correct me if he listens to this. It might have been 23. I think it was 22. So September the 16th, 2022, on his own. When we arrived last night and it were dark, he were already down there. He were down on cliff tops. And while he's alone, these red spheres of light appeared out over the sea. Couldn't explain them. Out of all of us that go up there, he's the most critical thinking. He's looking for an earthbound explanation for everything, which is good. Yeah. We should all do that. So you see, we all want it to be this unexplained, this great unexplained. I do, because otherwise there'd be no intrigue. But we have to rule everything out first. So that's what Jeremy's really good at doing. But he couldn't explain them. So basically, ever since then, he's been coming down. Now, I said it's been active the last, I don't know, I would think 6 months. We'll stay with Jeremy because it makes sense. There's another guy comes down called Mark, who lives in Bempton, and he's come down for years. He used to come down walking his little dog. Not really interested in unexplained, but he'd just appear in the night and he'd have a natter to us. He'd got a mild interest, but it's grown, and now he comes down regularly and he stays with us. And he's got a powerful torch, and that hill that we were talking about, and it'll apply to what I've just been saying. He just scanned his torch along the contours of the hill, and clear night, and his torch beam hit something that was there, but we couldn't see until his torch beam hit it, and it lit up what looked like a little moon. So and I saw it. So if you held a 2-pence piece out at arm's length, a little bit above this contour of the land, and it just appeared for a blink of an eye. And Matt went, "Oh!" And I said, "Wow, did you see that?" And it weren't like we thought we could see it. It was there. Right. Yeah. So let's jump forward then. So we're all interested in this sphere of light. Prior to this, Mark had walked out of the darkness and just not have a torch, but not put a torch on. Very rare. But now when he comes, if he listens to this, and I don't think he will, because he's not as invested in it as us. When he comes, we all go, how long we're going to give him? Because I'll say a minute. Ian might say 2 minutes. Sure enough, lights on. He's wanting it to happen again. Right. After he'd seen that and he's talking about it, I don't know it. A week later, Jeremy's arrived and he's on his own. He's gone down the cliffs to where the military guys had their experience. He stood there in the darkness. He's slowly walking back up. This is the guy who saw the red spheres, and he'd had nothing happening between that time. Nothing at all. And he's just kept coming because he knew the reality of what he'd seen. And he thought, I'm investing some time in this. And when he arrives at us, I said, anything happened? He goes, yeah. He says, I've had an experience. His exact words. And I says, what do you mean? Yeah. And there's myself, who's with me, that I think there's Pete and Ian. And I says, and I like to record everybody if I can. And I says, can I record audio? He went, no, because I can't get my head around what I've seen. Let's speak about it on record later. And then I have done it, but I still not even took it off voice recorder, I don't think, because they didn't let me film him. He says, I'm walking along the path back to you guys. It's misty. He says, and in the mist, he says, about ground level, about 6 foot in circumference, a white disc just appeared. When I say disc, I think because he used the word disc, but maybe it's on its face, so it's as though you were looking at a coin face on. Because when I think of a disc as sort of flat, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like
So turn it, Andy. Turn it. That's how he saw it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one-dimensional. It just looks like a piece of card. You can't see any contours to it or anything. And he's only seen it for the blink of an eye. He said, I'm just walking. He said, and it just appeared. It's just a dull, luminous white. He says, and I looked at it and it switched off. So what do? He's got quite a lot of cameras, with thermal cameras, the little psionics cameras, all sorts. He said, I put my bags down. I walked into the field where it was, which were about, I will say, 30 to 40 yards away. He says, he'd no fear in saying it. He says, I tried to communicate. He says, because obviously he'd seen it. He says, and he stood there, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour, telling whatever it was. He wasn't going to take a picture. Could it do it again? And which may sound like craziness, unless you've stood in a shop doorway with some substance, which I, and then you might talk. So anyway, so that happened. So that's fascinating that we got this knock-on effect. Mark's lit this sphere up that I managed to see. Then, so we come full circle. Then Jeremy manages to see this sphere. He'd seen nothing prior to that since he saw the spheres of light a year before in September. Yeah, so it must have been 2023.
Yeah.
And we've got all of these things happening, Andy. It's just a paranormal soup.
Yeah. So I used to think that everything was separate and it wasn't all connected.
Yeah.
I just thought like ghosts are ghosts, UFOs are UFOs, and so on and so on. And even now, it's took me a while to get my head around that there is a connection.
Yeah.
But some things I just can't. I can't personally figure what that connection is between. I don't mean like chalk on board like Einstein, sort of figuring it out.
Yeah,
but actually, in my head, working out how can this be connected to that. There's nothing that links them.
No, but when you analyze it, Andy, there are things that links them. When you think about the voice phenomena, there's things that link them. And sometimes when we're looking at the light phenomena, we're only dealing with different terminology for different lights. If people saw the lights flitting through the forest in folklore, we hear the stories of Will-o'-the-Wisp and the ghost lights.
Yeah,
I'm turning them. I'm not turning them into these ILFs, these intelligent light forms, but we're probably dealing with the same thing. Yeah, do you know what I'm saying? Can I make a confession here? Do you know, before I came on, I think I'd been up about 2 minutes. And I'm not joking. I sat up last night when I got in and I had a beer and that, and I'd got all this stuff to talk to you guys about. And I literally put the computer on and sat down, and you were there. And so I literally
sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I didn't want to let you. I looked at the clock and I think it said 6:57, and I was still in bed. And I went, because I'm normally up really early.
Yeah.
Straight out and straight in here. But here we go.
It's cool, thank you. But yeah, you said like originally I thought I couldn't work out the connection, but it's only recently through talking to yourself. Yeah, talking to yourself and other people. The thing that I think it could possibly be is frequency. Whether it's light frequency, sound, image, everything has its own frequency.
Yeah.
So that for me, that is the only thing that I can work out that it could be.
And I feel like everything keeps coming back to frequency lately.
Yeah.
Like, you notice that?
We've got I had it in here last night, to be honest with you. But we've got a little machine. It was quite expensive. We've not really put it through its paces, but it'll detect different frequencies. And you can set it, and you've got a little screen that you can watch. So, and you can put a bar in it at wherever you want. But we've had it at 1.6 gigahertz, and we've been trying to detect the 1.6 because we've detected it at Bempton. The same kind of tech, but we running it through a computer, a laptop, and we've had 1.6 at Bempton. We've had it at the Rudston Monolith. So there is a lot to be said for the different frequencies, and it could even be where there's a term that I use called the lower silence. When everything just descends into this strange, disjointed reality where, you know what I'm saying. Where
it goes too quiet.
Everything's gone quiet. It's like you're in a vacuum.
Yeah.
You've just been immersed. I used to think to myself, I wonder if it's the phenomena putting a bubble around the individual, because let's just use the North Sea, for example. You can hear it invariably crashing against the rocks below. Suddenly you can't hear it. Well, it's not got the power to stop the sea, has it? It's not got the,
oh, no.
I wouldn't have thought it's got the power. But it has got the power, or the tech, say, if we want to use it those terms, to do something to our senses by altering the frequency.
Yeah.
And
sorry, I was just going to say with that, because there's a busy road at the back of the house, and I like to have the windows open. So we're living in an ambulance station as well, so that doesn't help. So I listen to white noise or brown noise, and that cuts out a lot of the background noise, and that's a frequency. So what if they're doing a similar sort of thing, a sound that we can't hear, and it's cutting out all the other background noise as well? So like you said, it's like your ears popped, you've been put in a bubble.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing.
You're in this
silent.
This strange altered environment. And I think it would explain for a lot of things. I mean, the sphere that Linny filmed on the clifftop on 18th, we think is the discs that we've been seeing. He could only see it with infrared camera. We didn't see that disc until Mark's torch beam touched it, and it lit up and then switched off. And we considered that what if these things that are around us all of the time, what if you got too close to one, or one got too close to you? What if that's what's creating this change in frequency, this change in the environment, and this descent into this fear? Because this fear fascinates me, where you can be, we'll use Mark as an example. And the guy who comes onto the cliff top, so originally used to walk his dog, and then he's become really interested. He gets on. I said, "What are you doing tomorrow, then, Mark?" He says, "I think I'm going to take my van. He's got a van. It's all kitted out, and I'm going to sleep up on moors." He says, "And for a night." He goes all over. It doesn't bother him.
Yeah.
And he'd about a month to 5 weeks ago, he arrived at the cliff tops, probably to spend a bit of time with us. But he as he's walking down, he said a fear just dropped on him. It's a great big man, real sort of powerful guy. Doesn't talk about had this ever happening before. He goes up to Scotland and camps and goes on, into the Highlands. He says, and as the further I walked, he said, the stronger this fear. He said, now I'm thinking, what is it? I felt like something was going to jump out at me. He said it was really strange. And I've been up there for years, as you know. It's happened to me once. It's happened to me at the back end of Danes Dyke. I was with Steve Ashbridge. Unusually, Steve didn't feel it. And I said, I think be about 12:30, 1 in the morning, or between 12 and 1. I said, we've got to go. He says, why? I said, I don't know. I said, I just feel frightened. I said, I can't explain it. I said, the air feels electric. So is that one person being targeted? Do you know, when we say is that one person being targeted, it's almost like you're fitting an answer around what you're doing, but we're all looking for answers. It really is. It's so strange, Andy. So what's that on there? Is that a little pumpkin on top of a can? that I'm looking at. Yeah. Oh, it's okay. Yeah. I'm just curious.
Yeah. All right. No, it's cool.
So where do you want to go with this now then, Andy? Do you want to carry on for 10 minutes or do you want to close it down?
Well, we've got the next guest waiting to come on.
Yep.
But I was going to say, I know you're busy, but would you like to come back on later on?
I will if I've got time, because what I'm doing, Andy, is I'm spending time. Kinsellas are coming today.
Right.
Ronnie and Phil are coming, and I'm going to take them to a few locations. So if you see me appear or you give me some times, if I've got time, definitely will for you. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Mate.
Well, what I'll do, because we've still got 11 and a half hours to go anyway. So I'll drop you a text and just let us know where you're at, and then we'll go from there.
All right then.
Is that all right?
Yeah, it's been great seeing you both.
You
and
too.
See you later, Andy. You take care, mate.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Have a good birthday. See you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So apparently it is also Woo Rider's birthday.
Is it?
It is. He said, Andy, sing me a melody for my birthday, bro.
No. I'll fall asleep. I really will. Right. So I'm going to bring the next guest on. And it's someone that has only been on once. And he's watching loads on Jessica's show. And he does his own show. I think, is it Chasing the Shadows? I hope I got that right. I probably got it completely wrong. So I'm going to bring him on now anyway. And it is the wonderful Dr. Denis Carroll.
Hello.
Andy, welcome.
Good to see you again, Nicole.
You too.
I was enjoying listening to your previous guest there. He's got a lot of enthusiasm about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I have my own podcast now, Hunting the Shadows.
Hunting the Shadows. I was close.
Something to do with shadows, yeah. And I have a lot of fun with it, and I enjoy it. I like this podcast. You know, I was telling somebody the other day that this stuff is really great. I wish we'd have had something like this about 40 years ago. Okay, you know, I've been doing this. I've made a career of this. I guess it's been well over half a century that I've been doing this, and
wow.
It never gets old. But I was telling, you know, some of the younger guys, you know, you didn't talk about stuff like this.
No.
You know, you didn't talk about the paranormal. They would put you on the funny farm or something, you know, they would put you away somewhere. So it's so good to have it now that we can have this rapport about this kind of stuff. You know, to me, that's amazing. But in my whole career, I've always said I like it all. I mean, I don't like to section myself out. I want not just one slice of the pie. I want the whole pie. Okay.
Yeah.
So
be greedy. Let's all be greedy.
Too.
I'm an old monster hunter too, from way back. So you know that. I get to do a lot of that stuff. I enjoy it all. I think it's all connected in some kind of weird, strange way. Most all of it is connected.
Yeah. See, I've got the frequency thing, but that's all I can. For me personally, I can't think of how else it could be connected. Some things just seem too different.
You know, about the secrets of the universe. It's all about vibration and frequency, you know.
Yeah.
And that is true. It's got a lot to do with energy. And, you know, a lot of this stuff is energy. We're all energy in one form or another.
Yeah.
You know, energy takes on many different types of forms. But the interesting thing is what Einstein said about energy never goes away. It never dies.
No.
It only goes into one form or another.
I was just going to say it.
Yeah.
Created or destroyed.
Yeah. And I think to me, and I had somebody ask me this the other day, do you really believe that there's life after death? I said, oh, without a doubt. I've seen too much evidence. I've seen too much stuff to lead me to believe anything else. You know?
But what do you consider life after death? Do you think that the soul stays in one form and is basically going on living just without a body?
I think there's some kind of weird mystical connection with the intellect and the soul. I think they both exist, even when we get rid of this meat jacket that we're wearing. Those two things I think will go on because I think they're connected. It's the consciousness and the soul itself. Yeah, definitely. I think there's a connection. I've seen that in a lot of different ways, and then have encountered certain things. You know, I'm deep into demonology as well. And these demonological type things have an intellect. Oh, yeah, they are very, very smart. If you go by the biblical account of demons, they were once fallen angels. And of course, the original name for the angels were the Watchers. They watched everything. They were sort of like the supervisors of the universe. They watched and learned everything. These things have untold knowledge, far beyond anything that you and I would have in one lifetime of existence. So these things can be very, very intellectual, but very dangerous for that very fact. In that, when you deal with demonology in that respect.
Well, I feel like it's kind of a newer concept that angels are just pure good. Like, angels were historically very powerful beings, but they weren't necessarily all super benevolent like we make them out to be.
Well, I think when you get into angelology, which I love more than demonology, by the way, it is a fascinating subject. When you get deep into angelology, you're talking about the original aliens. Okay, they don't belong here on this planet like you and I. We're Earth people. We're part of Earth, but they're not. They're from outside. They're from an outside sphere. So you got to look at them as sort of being the very first aliens, and they have an alien aspect to them. They can appear to look human when they want to, when they need to. And most supernatural beings have the ability to shapeshift. Okay, that just goes with the supernatural power pack. Okay.
Yeah.
But to me, the angels, I think, can look like us when they want to, but they don't actually look like us in that image. I think they have a different image. The Bible hints at this, okay, because the Bible is one of the oldest references we have to that, but it does hint at that. And I think not only do they look different than us, but I think they have a celestial technology. I believe they may have ships, they may have things that we don't know about. I believe that without a doubt they have that sort of celestial technology. So there you go. This fits the bill of aliens, although they're not bug-eyed aliens from Alpha Centauri. They are still aliens in that respect. But when they lost their first estate, as the Bible tells it, and when they were kicked out of heaven, some of them rebelled, and there was a war, and there was actually a war. And if you go back and look at all of the many cultures of the world, you find this popping up in their histories. They tell about wars in heaven, or they talk about wars that they seen in the sky. And the sky people they talk about, that had to be something very much like the angels, the rebel, and I call them the rebel angels and the good angels. Okay. And they had it out in that respect. And I think there was a lot of technology used. I still think they're using technology. Some of the bad guys are definitely using technology. I think a lot of supposed alien abductions may be part tied in with some of this. There's something going on. And there again, if you look back in folklore, you see so many references to human abductions. The fairies abducted people. There were supposed to be subterranean creatures that abducted people. The list goes on and on and on. Abduction is nothing new.
No.
We're just blaming it on aliens now, okay, not fairies. But if you look at aliens, if you look at the alien concept and the fairies and the angels and all that, I think they're all tied in, connected to us, because that's the way we look at things. And every culture in time looks at things differently. They wear a different filter, you know?
Yeah.
Just like medieval people, they looked at things differently than we do. And
Yeah.
so on and on. So every culture has a filter that they go with these things. But when it comes to angels, I think the ones that corrupted themselves, and I have actually seen these things face to face. They are awful looking. They have completely lost their true nature, and it has been corrupted. They, without a doubt, are still very powerful, but that power has been taken from them. They're not as powerful as the good angels. According to angelology, one good angel, okay, one of the good guys, has enough power to destroy this planet. That is a very powerful being when you think about it. Okay. Luckily, the bad angels don't have that ability. Okay. They don't have that ability. So they go about trying to destroy humanity in other different ways, especially trying to get humanity to destroy itself. And I think they give us the technology sometimes to do some of these things that we do in bad ways. Here's the thing about demons, if you want to, whatever name you want to call them, they rarely come out and actually murder somebody. I have seen cases of demonic murder. And whenever they do murder someone, they always turn the head around completely backwards. That's the way they kill you. I have seen that, but it's rare. I think they cross over a line when they do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think they violate something when they do. So they're not allowed to do that very much. But they are very insidious in the fact they will get you to kill yourself. That's how they operate. That's how smart they are and how devious they can be. So it makes them very dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah, it's manipulation, isn't it?
Yeah, it's manipulation. They're very good at manipulation. They manipulate not only us, they manipulate the society around us. I said this tonight on my podcast I did tonight. We are living in a matrix.
Yeah.
Okay, we truly are living in it, but it's not a computer generated matrix. It is the system, the worldwide system that we live in, that we're slaves to, and it includes the technology that we now have. I just came through a hurricane where we lost power I was out of power for 8 days.
Wow.
I just got my internet back a little. I was out of the internet for like 20 something days with no internet.
Where are you located?
I'm in South Carolina, actually, the state of South Carolina, and it was hit pretty hard by Hurricane Helene. And luckily, I was unscathed. I mean, my property was missed in that fact, but it's still. I kind of realized then how much of a slave that we have become to our technology, and the system has done that to us. The system, which I believe is in many ways, a corrupt system. Because what do? You know, you're a slave to it. You pay into it. You go to work. You pay your taxes. You go home. The cycle goes on and on and on. They've got you in the pigeonhole they want you in. They've got you in the rut they want you in. You are in a matrix that is really and it is a matrix of slavery. Basically, you have very few rights within this matrix. And I think the world system, not only it was designed by men and women, human beings, but having studied demonology, I can see the darkness that is behind the shadows of this world, and the things that are running in the background, the puppet masters, whatever name you want to give them. They are feeding us, I think, technology. They are feeding us ideas. They are constantly bombarding us with that manipulation and that mind manipulation and all that stuff. They are controlling the media. They are controlling education, religion. The list goes on and on and on. They definitely are controlling, I think, parts of the government. Let me tell you this right quick. I was
Yeah.
actually several years ago, I was approached by a CIA agent who wanted to recruit me. He had heard that I was a demonologist, and he said, we want people of your caliber. You know, we want people that know the things you know. And he said, and he said something very interesting to me. He said, we want people with supernatural talents.
Right.
And of course, I turned him down. I didn't want to work for the company. I think it's about the only way you ever get out of the company is through the morgue. But anyway, I turned him down. But here's the interesting thing I came away with. Why do they need to know about demonology? Why do they need to recruit people with supernatural talents? Why? That's a very important question. What are the governments of this world into? And what are they up to, you know?
Obviously, they know something we don't, and they're
They
not
know
letting up. Yeah, and they're not sharing. They're very selfish.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that kind of opened my eyes. I said, hey, if they, are they recruiting people who can turn into werewolves? Are they recruiting vampires? They're recruiting witches. They're recruiting psychics, people who can remote view. The list goes on and on and on. Have they got all these kind of people working for them? That bothers me thinking about that.
Yeah, they're gonna recruit the witches, and then if we're ever under like a threat of a war, they're just gonna have everybody put them, their name in the freezer. Problem solved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then you've got the hybrids.
I think without a doubt.
Are they recruiting or are they making
hybrids still going? Yeah, they have certain programs ongoing that they're still doing. I think one is the Super Soldier Project, definitely.
Yes.
They're doing hybridization of things. Having being deep into cryptozoology, being a cryptid researcher, I have seen a lot of evidence that points to that. I've heard many people have told me about the underground military bases with secret containment areas and who knows what's in them.
Yeah.
It would not surprise me a bit. No, knowing what I know, there's nothing really surprises me in that category anymore.
No.
Have you seen Stranger Things, the show?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, and we do know without a doubt that they have recruited in the past psychics, people who can remote view. Remember that movie, Men Staring at Goats? Remember that?
George Clooney?
There was a movie that was out. It was called Men Staring at Goats. That was the name of it. What it was? It was part of a CIA project.
Yeah,
they
George Clooney and
trying to do remote viewing and stuff. Anyway, that was taken from real archives.
Really?
Yeah.
Can I throw a curveball in? How much of this do you think is known or run by the Vatican?
I think they've got a big hand in a lot of it. I think there's a lot going on with that, and I would love to get into the archives. Definitely.
Oh, won't we all?
Who knows what's in there?
It's not just books.
Oh yeah, well they've got that viewer and all that stuff, supposedly. Here's the thing about the Vatican and the archives that I can tell you for sure without a doubt. There are definitely documentation inside the archives that makes the church look very bad, which is why it is so very secretive about that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, just for instance, I forget the name of the Pope, but he's the one that said about Hitler, oh, he's a nice gentleman. You got some really interesting stuff they're probably covering up, and they don't want you to know. I don't think it's related as much to historical Christianity as it is to the church itself. I don't think they're hiding documentation that would rock the Christian world theological wise, but I think they're hiding information that would make their church look bad in that respect. I
Yeah.
think that's what a lot of it's cited. But who knows what else is in there? Okay, if you're gonna, here's what I told somebody the other day. Okay, and we gotta always remember this: no government in the world is ever gonna give us full disclosure. Okay,
No.
they're never gonna give us their secrets because that would be giving us power. That would be giving up their power. There's power in secrecy.
Mhm.
Yep. Control.
But also, I don't think we're ever going to get retroactive disclosure. Like, they may come out with, like, okay, they'll show the TikTok videos, new things, but I don't think they're ever going to go back and say, yeah, we had a body from Roswell, because that would mean admitting that they lied.
Well, they're going to give you little tidbits to feed you,
Well,
to satisfy you, but they're not giving you the whole story. They're not going to they're not going to share that power with you. Absolutely not. No matter what. Here's what I told somebody the other day, and we got to think about this since I was talking about the matrix that we're supposedly in, the system itself. The technology that we have here right now is 100 years behind what they've got.
Yeah.
Or more.
Well,
It may be even more than 100 years. But
yeah. I'll look at what we got in 100 years.
I think it's 60 some odd years ago. They said they had a satellite that could read the headlines of the paper in Moscow. That was 60 years ago. What do they have now?
Yeah.
And I have seen things like that, like these invisibility cloaks that they've come up with. Some of this other stuff that we don't know about. I mean, I have on my own self personally seen a UFO. I saw a triangular craft pass over me close enough I could have hit it with a rock. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was not hallucinating. I was not drunk. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't on drugs. I mean, I saw this. Okay. And I wasn't even dreaming about seeing anything like this. But it passed over my head, doing at least over 1,000 miles an hour, because that's how fast this thing was moving out.
Yeah.
It was absolutely, completely, eerily silent and the size of a football field.
Wow.
Now, if we have something like that, we could rule the world tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of people ask me after that, what do you think it was? I don't know. I really don't know. If it's ours, or so I just got the feeling it's not ours. That's all I can say about it. And that's just my own personal opinion. But if our military has something like that, they could do whatever they want to.
Yeah. So I don't think it's ours, but I do think its origin is Earth. Whereabouts on Earth or in Earth, I don't know.
I think a lot of things that we are encountering are coming from underneath the Earth.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I don't
really believe that.
It is. The ships that you see are not intergalactic. Because if you're going to travel intergalactic, you're going to go through doorways. You're going to do it dimensionally. Okay? That's the smart way to travel. What the ships we are seeing, I think, are coming from somewhere else, inter-Earth, instead of extraterrestrial. They're interterrestrial. And I think without a doubt that the most vast unexplored area on this planet is right beneath our feet.
Yep, definitely.
What are your thoughts on time travel and the theory that all these things are us from the future?
I think some of the ships that we see may be some types of time ships. And here's the reason why I say that. Every time you hear about ships, different ships like the Tic-Tac code ship you talked about, and some of these other things, why are they all different? They're not uniform. They're not military looking in that respect. You know how the military turns out everything to look like it, It's all, And I asked myself that question years ago. I said, maybe the answer is that they're coming from some other time period. Some of them.
Yeah.
And if you come from other time periods, then your ships will be different. Because of technology. And I think that could be part of the equation. as well. What I saw that day led me to believe that it was just not what we have. It was something else from somewhere else in that respect. Where I can't really say, but it had that otherworldly feeling. When you see something like that, the thing that strikes you is the fact that, hey, this doesn't belong here. This is something I shouldn't be seeing, kind of thing, you know? And, but it was the aftermath of what happened to me after that that was so weird. I mean, I started having government cars buzzing my house. I had black helicopters. I had drones show up. I had my mail look through. I had people coming in I had I was like living the Mothman prophecies there for a while. It was real freaky. And what it was, when I had this experience, I filed a little report with MUFON, you know, about it. I sent it to him. And I talked to a guy several years after that from MUFON. I said, no, we never got that report. We never got it. And I wondered why I never heard back from you on that, you know? And he said, we never got that report. So who intercepted it?
Yeah.
That was the weird thing. And why all that stuff started happening to me. I mean, I started having, I would go different places, like, you know, shopping centers and all that, and there would be the government vehicle. It was like it was following me around where I went. And
Do
this
they
went
still do
on
that?
for weeks. This went on for weeks. And you get kind of paranoid, you know, after a while. You start looking out your window like, but I said, you know, what did I do? I didn't do anything, you know, but just report that. But that was weird. The only thing I didn't have was the Men in Black show up. Okay, that was it. But they might have, and I wasn't home. I don't know.
They knocked, you didn't answer the door, and get zapped with their little thing to forget.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't go if I knew they were out there, definitely. But actually, several years later, after that, I actually had a run-in with the Men in Black. I tell you what happened. I was on a radio show, and I was being interviewed on a radio show, and that was back before podcasts. And during the show, I just jokingly said, you know, well, if the Men in Black are listening tonight, come see me. I want to talk to you, you know. Well, I shouldn't have done that. Don't do that, okay? That's not a good idea. You're opening an invitation there. Well, maybe about 3 weeks after that, I was coming out of the shopping center, coming out of the store, and sitting out in the parking lot in a black Cadillac with two men in black.
Wow.
I mean, they had they had the suits on, the sunglasses, and they're sitting in a black Cadillac. An old black Cadillac. It looks like immaculate. It looks like it drove off a showroom floor, okay? But it's like a 1960 something Cadillac looking thing. And when I immediately saw them, they were sitting there, and they were in the car, and Nicole, and let me say this, the car itself had sort of a green tint of a light in it. It was weird looking. It was very alien-like. That's what struck me when I saw it. And they were just sitting there looking at me. And like I said, I was probably maybe 6 or 8 yards away from them. Okay. Distance-wise. But they were just sitting there staring at me, and it's like, it's not quite dark. It's twilight, and they're sitting there with the sunglasses on, the black and white, you know, the white shirts, the black suits, the whole works. Traditional looking Men in Black, okay? And that's what struck me. I said, you know, what's going on with this? So I said, I turned around to my truck. My truck was sitting there, and I said, I got to get my phone out. My phone was in the truck. I'm going to take a picture of these guys, you know. And I turned around and opened the door in my truck, and I looked back, and the car is slowly backing out of the parking lot. And this is a huge parking lot, okay? I mean, it is huge. They're backing out, and I turned to look down, to open the door, and look back up, and they are gone. The car and everything's gone. And that's what I'm just like, you know, jaw dropping moment. I jump in my truck and I take off. How could they get out of this parking lot that quick? There was no way humanly possible. They would have had to burnt rubber all the way up the parking lot to get out, but they were just gone. I rode around 2 hours looking for them.
Wow.
And the weird thing was, I told a friend of mine, Nick Redfern, I told him about this.
Yeah.
And and Nick said, you know what? Dennis said, I believe they wanted you to see them. They were sending you a message that, like, we're here and we can reach out and touch you anytime we want to. And here is the capper to this story. About 2 weeks after that, I almost died. I was hospitalized for about 3 days. To this day, they don't know what happened to me. I almost died.
Oh.
Just got sick, and right after this happened. And then I did more research, and here's the clincher. I found out that a lot of times that people have run-ins with the Men in Black, and even just different types of paranormal activity. People get sick or have illnesses afterward. It's almost like it's a trigger. It's weird.
Yeah. So do you think?
Definitely.
Because it's the same or similar sort of thing with black-eyed kids. They get a lot of sickness.
I think black-eyed kids are downright demonic, okay, and they have the attributes of vampires. You have to invite them in. Let me say this about the demonic, and having been in this, like I say, for well over 50 years now, I've had a lot of run-ins with demons, and the thing about them is I've had people ask me, can I be walking down the street and bam, I get possessed? No, it don't happen that way. You have to open doors to these entities in your life. You do it in different ways, okay? And it's a good thing to take in your welcome mat, okay? It's not a good idea to have a welcome mat at the front of the house because you're asking for trouble, okay? But you can open the door to these entities in many different ways. It can be drug use, it can be alcohol abuse, it can be gambling, it can be pornography, whatever the situation is that creates negativity in your life.
Yeah.
Opens the door to these things. It draws them to you. And let me say this, and I said this on a podcast not long ago. There is a darkness in all of us. Okay. There is having been in law enforcement, I can tell you without a doubt that we all have a murderer in us. In the right situations, the murderer can come out.
Yeah.
We have an inherent darkness in us, and we have to keep it pushed down. We have to keep control over that darkness. But there is a darkness in this world that's outside of that draws that darkness in us and wants to connect with it. And that's the demonic. That's how the demonic works. And if they can pull you deeper into their darkness, then they can get you right where they want you. Okay, that's the way they operate. And that's how they try to do. And they try to activate that darkness already in us. They try to form a rapport. They try to hook you into that. And if you ever let them pull you too deep into that darkness, you lose your humanity and your soul. You know, both of those go together. You can't be human without a soul in that respect. That's what's going on. And I have actually run into a lot of lost souls, people who don't have no soul anymore. They have lost their soul to a certain extent. They've lost their humanity. They don't feel for other people. They don't see you and I as human beings. That is the way serial killers work. You ever look in the eyes of a serial killer, it's like looking at a shark. The eyes of a shark. There's no emotion there. There's no feeling. I never will forget one time we arrested a guy. He killed his girlfriend, cut her up in pieces, ate some of her, then went home, took a shower and a nap. And I asked him later, why did you do that? I said, why did you do that? He said, you know what? I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I did that. But that's how the demonic works on people, I think. And that's what it's up to, trying to, you hear a lot about people selling their souls. Well, I don't think soul is a commodity. You can't put it on a scale for so many pounds or whatever. But you can surrender your soul. You can give it away. You can give it over to the darkness. And that's what the darkness is waiting for.
Yeah.
Grandizer would like you to talk about Aleister Crowley.
Oh, yes.
Oh, Aleister Crowley. That's a character. All right. He was deep into sex magic. Okay.
Yeah.
That was what he basically was. Well, here's the way he thought about the magic. He was trying to connect up with the energy of things. Because let me say this about magic, whether it's dark or light or white magic. You hear this from witches. There's supposed to be white witches and black witches. All magic, whether it be white or black, is trying to manipulate reality. That's what it's doing. It's wanting to change reality. And when you do that, that's never a good thing, because reality should be left alone. Okay, put it that way. It's sort of what our Creator has put in place for a reason.
Yeah.
And whenever you start manipulating it, things from the outside sphere can hook into that very easily and screw you up big time. Well, that's what Aleister Crowley was trying to do. He was trying to hook into the energy of that so that he could change reality. And he would do it with sex. He would do it with different ways. As the sexual thing releases a lot of energy. That's what he was trying to hook into. Okay. And that was a good way to meet girls too, I think, by the way. He was up to that too a lot. But anyway, yeah. He was quite a character, but I think Aleister Crowley became more of a person who was into self-promotion more than anything else in the end, towards the end of his career. When he was younger, he was trying to found different sects of magic. That's SECT, sets of magic. And he was trying to form his own religions in that respect. But I think he kind of lost the vision of it towards the end of his life. He lost a lot and got more interested in self-promotion of himself. I've seen that happen with paranormal investigators, by the way. I won't call any names, but you get caught up in the self-promotion thing. You can lose yourself that way too. You can lose your direction very easily.
Yeah.
And that was what Aleister Crowley had a lot of disciples. One of them was Jack Parsons, who helped us go to the moon.
Yes, I heard that.
A friend of Werner von Braun. You remember him? He was a Nazi SS officer who also helped us
trying to think who he was.
Operation Paperclip. So you got Aleister Crowley showed up, and even I think L. Ron Hubbard was one of his disciples. The list goes on and on. So he had an influence. He had an influence in the sphere of magic at that time.
Yeah. But he did. He was doing this. Well, rumor has it he was trying to do 13 rituals that he had to get them done. He had certain time to do them, and it's to open a portal to another route.
He had the main ritual that Aleister Crowley was trying to do was the Babylon working. You heard about that? The Babylon working? He was actually trying to bring the whore of Babylon, supposedly from the Bible, into reality to trigger the apocalyptic type thing. That was the Babylon working.
Yeah, I think I
It's a
heard
weird,
it is
weird stuff.
to open the gates of hell is the phrase that was used.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he was
Yeah, he was
flitting
trying to open the
between.
gate. Well, that is all.
Yeah.
That's the number one aim of black magic and dark magic. Andy, is to open spiritual doorways, open other
Yeah.
dimensions, or whatever name you want to tag it with. That is the dangerous aspect of that. I've actually been places where these doors were left open, and
Yeah,
it's
well,
just
that-
like leaving the door open in your house. Anybody can walk in, anything can come
Yeah.
through, and I think
Well, that's what they
people
think. Sorry.
let some things through from other dimensions into our world. Yeah.
That's what they think he did, though. He didn't. He had to do these certain rituals
There's one
for
more
it
thing about Aleister
all to
Crowley.
work out.
He was living on the banks of Loch Ness,
Yes.
and they say he may have stirred up the Loch Ness monster by doing
Yeah.
some
Well,
stuff.
that's what I was going to get to.
Yeah.
So he was doing trying to open this portal, and he was flitting between England and America, and he was on a social adventure, shall we say. And he was going to and from and meeting up with different people and women, and then back and forwards and so on and so on. And he was living in I think it's 2 or 3 different properties, and one of them was, I can't remember the name of the house, it was a B, I think, up at Loch Ness. And he apparently partially opened this portal, and that's what we think the Loch Ness monster is.
Mm-hmm.
Some things got through. Some things were able to get through, and he kind of just thought, I can't be arsed with this anymore, and just carried on the party and social scene.
Well, there's a lot of talk, about the Loch Ness monster actually being seen out of the water, crossing roads and in the woods around there. And that has been told for hundreds of years before there were any roads there. But they say that he may have reactivated it somehow or another by doing some of the stuff he was doing. I don't know. Yeah. By the way, that Jack Parsons thing I was telling you about, Jack Parsons, they have a Jack Parsons Day at NASA every year, and it's on Halloween, by the way. Jack Parsons was a big disciple of Aleister Crowley.
Yeah.
They say that that's what got him killed. He was working on a experiment trying to open a portal, and something blew up in his lab, or that's what killed him, supposedly. Yeah.
So do you think now CERN is opening portals? The same portals that Crowley
experimenting with that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whether he opened it or not, I don't know. Here's the weird thing about that. I think where that happened, supposedly there have been a lot of strange paranormal activity in that area where he supposedly died, and even some children have gone missing in that area. So that's an interesting aspect too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it was like, I remember you triggered it. It's like the Pied Piper. It was like, loads of kids from different villages went missing. I'm sure this is the story. And he goes, I'm tired, so I can't function proper. But I remember all these kids went missing. And he's like, yeah, it's fine. If you do a certain thing, I'll bring him back. And then he kind of just vanished as well. Or if it wasn't him, it was a friend of his that had done it. It was someone close to him. I'd have to reread it, re-listen to it. Yeah.
Kind of like the Pied Piper of Hamelin, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 No. That's an interesting thing. I think to this day, a lot of missing people. I think a lot of missing people have they end up in that. I think. Well, I'm not going to say just the trafficking thing going on. Of course, there's a lot of that, but there's a lot of ritualistic. As a police officer, I saw some ritualistic murders that took place. There's a lot of ritual stuff, and as you know, there's a lot of talk nowadays about a lot of these pop singers and stuff doing rituals on stages and doing other things like that. There's a reason for a lot of that because rituals increase their power on these people that are with their Satanists or in the vampire cults or whatever the situation. I've done a lot of vampire hunting in my time. Okay.
Yes.
And vampires are real, although they mostly are human vampires and not undead vampires.
Yeah.
But they are very deep into satanic stuff. And you have to, in order to do the things that they do, and they have to do horrific things, you have to commit ritual murders to do it. And I think a lot of people are peering into that. I'm not going to say tons of people are, but a lot of people may go out that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but just thinking about what you just said then, they do these sacrificial rituals. That takes us back what we were saying about the skinwalker or shapeshifter. The original, so they say, was to become a true skinwalker, you would have to murder a member of your family.
That is one of the premier powers that you get from the demonic. Further up the ladder, the higher up the ladder of dark witchcraft that you go, the more power you obtain. And one of the premier powers is shapeshifting, being able to shapeshift. You can become a werewolf, you can become a vampire, you can become a big cat, a tiger, you can become a crow, you can become a wolf. The list goes on and on and on. You can obtain power to transmute yourself, change your reality. There again, that's what I was talking about. Magic changes reality. Just like the skinwalkers you hear about and all that. Skinwalkers are witches. That's what they are, basically. Evil witches. Okay. And werewolves are evil witches. True werewolves put on the belt and become that. This is a dark witchcraft type thing. Okay. A very black magic that they supposedly do, but you have to do horrific things going up the ladder. You have to kill your siblings. The list goes on and on. You have to engage in torture. You have to engage in cannibalism. You have to have certain body parts to do some of these things. The list goes on and on and on. It's bad stuff. Bad juju. Okay. But they obtain powers. They obtain money. They obtain the shape-shifting thing. They are basically, Andy, looking for immortality. And, you know, it's kind of like that old song, Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places. They're looking for immortality in all the wrong places, okay? That's the way they go.
Yeah.
So where do you think immortality lies?
Well, if you got all the money in the world and all the power, and you got to die and leave it one day, you know, you're going to fight. Well, let me say this, okay? If you are a multi-billionaire, you are a god on this planet. You can have whatever you want. You can usually do whatever you want to do. You can even lengthen your life because you will have the best medical care, the best medicine, the best doctors that money can buy. You can live longer. That's not fair, really, to us. We're not multi-billionaires. We can't do that. No. But that's the way this ball bounces, okay? But they are looking for that immortality, and they are looking for it in maybe robotics or AI or cloning. The list goes on, and they are looking for it probably through dark and black magic. Absolutely. Yeah. They want that immortality because if they get that immortality, they will become gods.
Yeah, but this is for Nicole, have you noticed the common denominator in the whole of the chat from when we first started to now is AI. It's popping up everywhere.
AI, frequencies, and the elite?
Well, I can tell you this without a doubt. AI has already been demonically manipulated, okay? And I'll tell you why. Look who programs AI. We do. Humans do. And
Yeah.
humans can be manipulated. And there you go. That's the key to all of that. Whatever we do, here's the one thing we got to always remember. As human beings, we are imperfect. We cannot
Yeah.
create perfection. No way. Because we are imperfect. Anything we create is going to be what? Imperfect. That's just the way that goes. AI will be imperfect. It may turn on us. It may be the Frankenstein monster that we create. But it
Well,
will never be
Also
perfect.
wrote the Bible.
I argue with my Alexa pretty much every day because of what I ask it, and it's totally
But if
wrong.
you say, Andy, okay, let's just say, Andy, you make it to 90 years old, and you're old and you're feeble, but your mind's still good. You know, I've talked to people that were almost 100 years old, and they say, oh, in my mind, I'm still 16 years old. Okay, that's the way the mind works. So what if we could take your brain and put it in a robot or a clone that looks just like you? You would be Andy again.
Yeah.
You would be immortal.
I'd
You
do
would
it.
be immortal. Next 90 years later, when you wear this body out, you get another one.
Yeah. I'd do that.
We are very close to immortality, whether we know it or not.
Yeah. But then, would you know that you're you?
It's still your
Would
consciousness.
Yeah, but what this is like with the like space program and all that, with the super soldiers. Would you?
I am presently writing a book about all that, and it's called The God Game. And they are playing the God game. They want to become God. But like I said, they're doing it the wrong way. They're doing some pretty bad ways. But to me, it's a fascinating thing to watch. But it is a very unsettling thing to think about. We don't really need that kind of power.
No.
Because we will abuse it. That's the way it goes.
But this is a question though. It's once your consciousness has been taken out your organic body and put into a biomechanical body, would you remember yourself in the previous body of who you was to who you are now?
Here's the question, and will we have a soul?
That was the next bit.
Interesting aspect of it. And like I said earlier in the program, that's what makes us human. We have a soul. I think anything on this planet, and that includes dogs, cats, cows, anything that can love, that shows love,
compassion,
has a soul to it. Although we may have a higher soul than some of these other things. That's what makes us human. You know?
Yeah.
That's what sets us apart from other things.
We have an understanding.
When we start messing with humanity, we run the risk of losing our souls.
Yeah. But it would be so easy to.
Well, I know you were happy to see me tonight. I'm supposed to be leading up to your break.
I'm actually starting to wake up now.
I'm fading now. I need to go take a lap.
Yeah. No, we're coming up to a break. So we're gonna have half an hour.
I enjoyed talking with you all. And let's get together again one day soon. It's been too long since the last time.
I know. I'll try and organise it so it's not ages for when people come on and it's like it just doesn't happen. It never happens.
We're booked up until January now, which is great. But that means people, we gotta wait to talk to people.
But I'm not booking it. Got one booking for January, and that's it. I'm not booking any more until Christmas.
All right, well, I will go ahead and buzz on out here and let you take your break. And it was good to finally get to see you, Nicole. I've been talking to you through the email and all that. So it's finally good to get to meet you and see you again, Andy. And then you take care of us again. We will catch you later.
Yeah, thanks again, Dennis.
Okay, bye-bye.
Speak to you soon. Take care. Right, so now
I'm not nicknamed.
I know. Everyone's tired. Right, so
okay, so what are we doing now? friends.
So we've got our break. Our next stream is gonna be 9 o'clock. Unless you want to do a quick 10 minutes, quick rundown, and then we just get 45 minutes.
Let's do it.
I just want to get a shower and feel refreshed and what have you. Grab some, get some cereal.
A little bit, do a little run.
I might do some
Walk
yoga.
around the house.
I might just fall on the floor and collapse and wake up sometime next week. I don't know.
I'm gonna have like a blanket and a pillow when you're gonna come back, and I'm just gonna be sleeping in this chair.
I'm actually going to tip this chair back and put my eye mask on. So, phone, iPad, all on silent. Nobody phone. Nobody message me unless it's 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And just keep ringing me till I wake up.
We're not back.
Yeah. So we need this because me and you have been on here since pretty much 12 hours now, solid.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good now, though. I might have to change the camera because I cannot cope.
It's so funny.
Shall I keep it on? Right, quick vote.
No, it drives me, making me nauseous.
Right.
But it's
right, I'm not even gonna get sleep. It's gonna take me about an hour to do this. Because I know as soon as I move ET, it's gonna start.
Yeah. No, it's focusing on that little ghosty guy over there, holding his head.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put this one on. Oh, God's sake. And I just need to find out where I've got it all plugged in because I don't like wires showing, so I took everything around the back. And I now cannot find the back. Hello. Oh, thank you, Og.
Thanks, Og.
Oh, thank you. Oh.
All right.
The B&M ghost. It is. They all are. Right.
They're so fun.
Yeah. Let's anyway. Ghost post. It's been what, 12 months?
I know. I got Andy Bingo 2.0 going on, right?
Shut up.
I do. Andy Bingo 2.0. And I've hit so many of them so far. So far, we've got Inner Earth, Barry Fitzgerald in the van, technical issues, ghost post.
How many have you wrote?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 16.
Got 4 halfway through. That's not bad. Yeah, you probably get the next 8 in like the next 20 minutes that we do. So, right. I'm going to go because I need to sort this camera out before I have a meltdown.
So are you leaving this on with the break? Or you're turning it off?
No. I'm going to shut it down. We're going to be back on 9:15. Gives us 15 minutes before the next guest comes on.
Okay, 8:45.
Yeah.
Which is 4:45 over here.
So we'll be back on in 44 minutes.
44 minutes.
Okay. So thank you, everyone.
Back.
Yes. Do not be late. I will send black-eyed kids round, and yeah, you know what they'll do.
I'm not talking to the black-eyed kids, so
you have no choice. You have no choice. Right. Let me go get this sorted. Get a shower, have a sleep, we're back on. So see you guys in 43
minutes. Yeah.
43 minutes. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.